Okay, so last but not least, now we move to our last presenter, Dr. Marc Galabert, who will explain us, introduce us the case of Andorra. So, Dr. Marc Galabert, thank you for joining us today. So he holds master's degree in business administration from the University of Barcelona and a PhD in economic history, with a dissertation on the origins and development of the Andorran banking sector. He's also adjunct professor at the University of Andorra and an extended collaborator with the Andorran Agency for Quality Assurance and Higher Education. He has held various positions of responsibility in the government of Andorra, including Secretary of State for Economic Diversification and Innovation and Commissioner General of Andorra at Expo 2020 in Dubai. He currently chairs the board of directors of the Andorran Social Security System and the Pension Reserve Fund, combining it with his work as a partner in an independent financial advisory firm. So thanks for being here, Dr. Galabert. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. At this moment, I'm not able to see the presentation. I don't know if okay. I need to okay now. I think now.
Can you see the presentation on the big?
No, I see it, and I see it small. And
okay, so you should go to View on the top right of your screen. Select Gallery.
Okay, yeah, I'm there.
And then you go again to View, and you check Hide Self-View and Hide Non-Videos.
Already done. Already clear. Well, thank you very much for having me. I will try to explain the case of Andorra, which is quite particular as the country is quite particular. We are, as you know, very small, and although we are very small, we share the same challenges as many of the Western social pension schemes. And I will try to make an overview, if we can pass the slide, on what the country faces now and how we see the future regarding our actuarial data. So my presentation is going to be a first overview on what the Andorran economy is, what the CAS, which is the Caixa Andorrana de Seguretat Social, which translates to the Andorran social security system, is like, and then what are the main challenges, which I believe are shared among the many of the presentations that we had before. And then I just going to outline some brief conclusions before giving the opportunity to have some questions. If I can have the first slide. Well, yeah, the second one, thank you. Well, regarding on data at the end of 2024, Andorra is a very small country, one of the smallest countries in the world and also in Europe. We hold a population of 87,000 people, which is divided into a majority of Andorran nationals, followed by Spanish, Portuguese, French, and around 15% of other populations. Actually, there is more than 100 languages spoken in the country. However, most of them speak Catalan, Spanish, and also French. Our GDP has been impacted in the last 5 years by the pandemics. Of course, we believe that we have recovered in a quite good way. However, this has come with a good amount of inflations regarding or since 2022 with the Russian-Ukraine war, and we are still facing some 2.5, 3% inflation rates annually, which of course is impacting our social security spending and also the value of the pensions. Regarding the structure of our economy, we are very focused on an economy service, mainly relying on tourism. Actually, after the Vatican City, we are the most intensive touristic country in the world, meaning that the visitors per capita that we host in the country is one of the highest of the world. We also have a very strong trade and commercial industry related mainly with the touristic industry, and also a quite important banking system, which has been one of the pillars of the Andorran economic development during the second half of the 20th century. Is it also true that construction and real estate mainly has been really, really booming in the last 4 years? Is it true that this is a general trend in Western Europe? However, we believe that the lack of space in our country makes it somehow more problematic, as many people now we're seeing that want to come to live in Andorra, also for taxing purposes, and the rhythm and also the space for construction is not enough, which makes our prices to go very, very high. Also, this has an impact in the talent and workforce attractions, which at the end of the day, it also has an impact in the social security system, not only in the part of the medical assistance, but also in the pension system. Now, for example, as we are going to talk later, we still have some surpluses from the retirement branch, but we are seeing that the eldering of the people is going to make the surpluses go low and low over time. If I can have the next slide, please. Thank you. So regarding the pension system in Andorra, we are nowadays a combination of the three typical pillars that we can define in a modern pension system. The main one and the most popular is the Pillar 1 distribution system, which is a pay-as-you-go system. It's a public pension plan that was put in place in 1968. Actually, the Andorran social security system was built relying heavily on the French social security system in the 1968, and it has two main branches. It has the sanitary branch and the pension branch. So contributions made by workers and also self-employed people are around 22% of the income, and this 22% is divided in 10% to fund health, the health system and sanitary system, sorry, and the other 12% goes to fund the pay-as-you-go pension system. Is it true that every year since its beginning and until today, the retirement branch has surpluses, and these surpluses are being managed by the FRJ, which is the retirement reserve fund, which this year is its 10th anniversary. Prior to that, the the surpluses were managed by the social security system by itself, but 10 years ago, the parliament decided to separate these two institutional bodies in order to make the fund more professional and to adapt it to the independent investment strategy that it wanted to follow. Is it also true that this contributive payment pension is complemented by some non-contributory solidarity pensions in case by the government, and mainly the social security system is based on this Pillar 1 pay-as-you-go. Is it also true that we have some experiences of Pillar 2, which in which we can see contributions both by company and also workers. However, this kind of funded pensions schemes are not very widespread around the country. Mainly is implemented by the public sector, by the administration, and also some big public companies such as the telecom company, for example, but it's not very popular in the private sector. For example, in the private sector, the main the main Pillar 2 that we find is in the banking system. And then, of course, we have the Pillar 3, which is totally voluntary and private. Some of the people in Andorra decide to also complement its savings to a pension fund that can be used at retirement, and it's also it can be you can apply for a tax deduction for the how to say it, for the money that you contribute to that third pillar. As you can see, we made a column here between the Pillar 2 and the Pillar 1 that says Pillar 1 bis with this loading bar, which is empty. This is because nowadays, this year and also some years ago, the parliament is starting to think that the system needs to be reformed. Actually, we are going to see that the system has remained the same for many years. Actually, from 1968 until 2008, the system had very little modifications. In 2008, we have a little modification. If I can have the second slide, following slide, sorry. The following one, yeah. And then we also had a little reform in 2014. However, we have seen that this parametric reform has done very little in order to ensure the sustainability of the system on the long run. So this is why these years we are discussing a possible structural reform in which we are strongly seeing the benefits of implementing or putting in place a Pillar 1 bis funded pension scheme. So regarding our nowadays retirement regime, the general features that can be stressed is a point system. This means that you accumulate points during your whole active life, and then these accumulated points are used to purchase the sale value of the point, that it's updated yearly by the CPI, which is usually published in the budget put forward by the government. As we have said, the system is a pay-as-you-go system. It's a distribution among every participant. And now we have established that in the event of deficit of the system, the state budget and the reserve fund would cover these commitments. However, the main discussion regarding the reform is that we already know regarding the long-term analysis that our commitments are much higher than the reserve fund. So we need to adjust and to reform our systems in order to make it the more sustainable possible, and also to balance the intergenerational solidarity between those who are now receiving a pension and those who are active workers, especially those that are starting their active life in terms of work. This is a mandatory coverage fund. I mean, employees, both public and private, and also self-employed, are obligated to contribute to the fund. Is it true that the employees contribute by this 12%, which I was referring before, and these self-employed usually they contribute regarding the a mix of the gross income of the business and also the net income of the business. However, there are some thresholds in order to establish some kind of balance between the employees and the self-employed. If I can have the following slide, please. So, talking more about the main features of the retirement regime, what does it cover? So the main benefits under the retirement regime is the ordinary and early retirement pensions and the widowers' pensions for life and temporary pensions. How much is contribute? As we said, usually salaried wage earners contribute by 12%, which is divided between 3.5 per employee and 8.5 per company. And then we have the general rule of 12% for self-employed, despite the fact that this can be decreased or increased regarding on the individual conditions of these self-employed. So what are the main ages in which you can start to enjoy your pension? So the ordinary retirement is at age of 65, which is the typical age that was established in main countries for retirement. I know that this is heavily under discussion in many jurisdictions, and we have also this discussion here, despite the fact that some countries already made some changes on that. And the main characteristics in order to enjoy this pension is that you need to work for more than 15 years in order to have a pension for life. So if a worker or a contributor works less than 15 years, but between 5 and 15 years, so you get a lump sum, you get it, all your contributions, return it at once, and you can only access the system when you have these complete 5 years of contributions. So, of course, we have some agreements with our main neighbors that you can sum or accumulate years between those different countries, but these agreements nowadays are just with Spain, France, and Portugal, as we are not a part of the European Union. For example, a worker that from, I don't know, Poland that comes to Andorra to work for 2 years, he or she would not be able to consolidate these 2 years with other years worked outside of Andorra. This has a quite significant impact, for example, with some social profiles that come from outside these three countries. For example, South American temporary workers that used to come for the winter season to help us in the ski resorts, mainly doing ski classes. There is also an early retirement option which starts at 61, and there are some conditions for that. You need to have 40 or more years of contributions, and for every year before 65 and 61, there is a reduction of the pension of 7%. So this means that if you retire in when you are 21, you are going to see your pension reduced by a 28% of the theoretical value that correspond to you at the age of 65. And is it true that this early retirement pension does not always allow to work? And there is the other option, which is a delayed retirement option after the age of 65, and there are some calculations and requirements made in order to calculate this pension, but you cannot contribute as much as the contributions made since the normal retirement age. So in the next slide, we are going to see more or less. I'm not going to go into the details, but you can see the different formulas that are used in order to calculate, to state the annual pension amount. One of the things that is it worth to stress is that the substitution rate of the pension is if you contribute for 40 years, usually your pension amount should be around 50% of the average salary of your of your whole working life. So now what we see is that the average substitution rate is 33.15% of the average salary. And is it true that this data hides a lot of dispersion among the participants? Because we calculate the substitution rate taking into account the whole participants, meaning those who have to work 1 year in Andorra and those who have worked for 50 years in Andorra. So if we take into account the average 40 years contribution, the substitution rate is among these 50%. Is it also true that there is no minimum or maximum pension nowadays? And these have changed a little since the creation of the system, but not that much. And between 1968 and 2014, there was a linear proportion between the salary and the points bought for the pension scheme. However, as I said, we made some little reforms in 2014, which come into force in 2015, and there were some coefficients applied in order to make the value of the point less valuable as your salary or your income grew. This means that although there is not a maximum pension, is it true that the formula tries to flatten the proportion once your salary grows. If we can go to the next slide. We have here just a picture of how is the scenario nowadays. We have the active group, which is composed by an 80% of salaried workers. Now they are around 53,500 workers, and the average age of this working force is around 40 years. You can see that regarding our whole population, the active population is quite high. We have a 12.4% of self-employed people with a median age of 47, and other more minority groups contributing on 2.6%. Regarding the pensioners that benefit from the system, well, nowadays we have 3.3 active individuals for each pensioner, and this is a value that is decreasing over the years, because although it's true that in the last 2-3 years the Andorran population has grown a lot, is it also true that the demographic dynamics towards aging, it's also very, very strong. So today we have around 60,500 pensioners, which represent more or less a growth of 17% since 2020. As you can see, there is a quite high growth rate. From those pensioners, there is a direct entitlement of 40,800 pensioners that receive an average annual income of this around 8,700 euros. And there are some revisionary pensions, which are those pensions earned by widowers that are around 3,400 people in the country. If we can go to the next slide, please. We have here, and this is the starting point of our thought that we need to reform our system as soon as possible, is the demographic situation. We have a pyramid that we have a demographic pyramid that is no longer a pyramid, but is more like two joint triangles, meaning that the most proportion of the population is not on the basis, but on the middle of the distribution. And what this tells us is that is going to be the main proportion of the population is going to be in the top in a few years. We have some of the highest life expectancy in the European countries, according to the IMF, which is more or less around 83.5 years. But it's also true that we have one of the lowest birth rates in Europe, which means only 0.94 birth per woman, also according to the IMF. So this needs, of course, to be balanced by immigration. Actually, Andorra, from the second half of the 20th century, it has been a country of immigrants. More or less, the immigrant population accounts for 68% of the country, and this and this has been increased or accelerated in the last 2 to 3 years. So as you can see, and in those charts in the in the in the right of your screens, is that this has an impact on the pension systems that we need to address. And we start the government and also the parliament is fully aware that some kind of measures need to be taken. However, those are not always easy. And is it also true that they are very linked to the economic structure. As we are a very touristic intensive country, usually salaries are not very high. So this comes with a challenge in order to raise contributions to the system, for example. If I can have the following slide. We are going to enter now, as we have already presented, to the challenges of these pension schemes. Just to summarize, we are facing three main challenges. One is the financial sustainability of the scheme. The second one is the adequacy of the benefits, and the third one is the equity. However, I would say that one of the fourth, or more invisible, if you want, other challenges, is to make the balance between those generations that are in the systems and that face the challenge in a very different way and in a very different impact. If we can. Okay, so as I was said before, you can see here, I'm not going to read all the the slide, but you can see more or less how our social security system and pension system has evolved between its creation. So since 1968 until October 2009, the system did not change. We had a contribution rate of 8%. Then from November 2009 until 2015, we raised this contribution up to 10%, and since 2015 this contribution is 12%. So we are aware that more and more we need to contribute, because our pension system started to be less and less sustainable. Is it also true that the date of retirement has not been moved? So this is also a parametric measure that is needed to be, if the parliament considers to be addressed. And some of the conditions in order to enjoy the lump sum also change. For example, in between 2009 and 2015, you need 1 to 12 years in order to receive this capital, but then this became more restrictive. If I can have the following slide. Thank you. So here we can see how this scheme worked in a graphic way during this period. So as you can see, during the main period between 1968 and 2009, the conversion factor was around 6.4. So the system was built believing that one retired person would live and then receive pension for 6.4 years, which thank God this is not the case anymore. And however, what we can see is that very early in the time, so between 1970s and 1980s, this conversion rate started to be obsolete for the people, for the life expectancy. So the reform carried by the country in 2009 updated this conversion factor, but only to 8 years, and then the 2014 reform updated to 9.6. However, you can see the gap between this conversion factor and the life expectancy of the country that makes shows us the challenge between funding the pensions and giving back the retirement income to the people. This shows this mismatch between the conversion factor and the life expectancy rate in Andorra. If we can go to the next the slide. Okay, so regarding the financial sustainability of the scheme, which starts from paying the pension to people beyond this conversion rate, we can see it. What actuarial studies warn us is that the fund that nowadays already has surpluses is going to be emptied by the time of 10 to 12 years, more or less. So now there is around 2,000 million euros in our pension fund, which have generated long-term returns above the CPI, which is the main goal of the law of the fund. But those are not enough in order to cover the commitments that every year we have from the active population that contributes to the pay-as-you-go system. You can see by this chart when when we need to start funding the pensions with the fund, and when the fund is over, we need to, by today's law, to fund these pensions by the public budget. So this is why we have a very I would like to say very strong discussion. In my opinion, is not that strong in the parliament, but we try from the social security system to encourage the discussion in order to not be late in making some structural reforms. If I can have the following slide. Well, yeah, sorry for this. Well, the other challenge, as we have seen before, is that pensions are not enough in order, the amounts, the incomes of the pensions are not enough in order to maintain the lifestyle of the active period. This is, I believe that is true in most systems, but however, is not a subject that needs to be taken lightly, because at the end of the day, the more aging people and the most proportion of this pension earners, it also has an impact in our economy. Is it also true that, as we said, we have very high dispersion between the contributors, because we have a lot of people. It's a quite high proportion of people that come to Andorra. They work for a period, 1 to, I don't know, maybe 50 years, but 15 years, sorry, and then they go back to either their country or some other country. So these numbers are impacted by these conditions. If we can have the following slides. Yeah, sorry. Uh, and then there is this third challenge, which is the equity, meaning that we need to search for a balance from different angles. What are we referring when we talk about equity? Well, this means that the contributions made to the system need to be more or less balanced by the benefits you get from the system. Nowadays, we are seeing that your whole contribution, it corresponds only to a 23.66% of the expected pension. That means that once you live more than 9.6 years beyond the retirement age, everything that you get is not funded by your active years. So this, of course, has an impact in different terms of how to say it, of different generations. This is it's one of the things that I believe it's needed to be addressed by the reform, in order to not rely on the active, and especially the most young active population, in order to fund today's beneficiaries of the system. If we can have the following, yeah. So the following um, slide. So here we start to outline some brief conclusions. I believe I'm going to stay by the time. So what are the main conclusions that we can outline from our system? Well, first of all, Andorra is not different. We believe that we have the same challenges as the other pension schemes. Is it also true that there is some kind of trend nowadays, and we also see it somehow in Andorra, saying, well, the pay-as-you-go system is a pyramidal scheme, it's a fraud? Well, I don't believe it's a fraud. I believe that it's a sign of its time. Once when it was created, the elderly population was a proportion much less important than it was today, and the life expectancy was not expected to grow as it has grown. So we have some very similar challenges with other peers, with other countries. Is it also true that we have been collectively shy in order to make reforms? We always say that once we reform the system, this is not going to be a permanent victory. The system is going to be reformed as long as the demography is going to change. And the third and more important for me conclusion is that it's not enough with a parametric reform. We need some kind of structural reform in order to ensure that following reforms are not that dramatic as we can believe that this one should be. This would be all by my part. I am happy to answer to the following questions, and I hope that my explanation has been well understood.
Thank you very much, Dr. Galabert, for this very nice presentation. So yeah, I encourage the audience to ask any questions using the chat. In the meantime, so I see that you ended your presentation talking about this reform that is needed, and a few slides earlier you mentioned the problem of the demographics, no, which is probably on the core of the main problem. No, this was also addressed by, it was the previous presentation from Hungary and from Italy, no, a context with a very high life expectancy, which is good, very low fertility, which is not so good. That means that and this is a problem shared also with Spain, no, in the problem is in the long term, an old age dependency ratio that will increase, and this is a problem for the sustainability of the pension system. And then you mentioned that the migration is already on the table, no? But please correct me if I'm wrong. My previous knowledge was that historically Andorra was quite restrictive in terms of immigration, in terms of being able to obtain the Andorran nationality. You said that this has changed, so could you explain us what are the changes, or is it?
No, maybe my explanation was not that correct. Is it true that getting the Andorran nationality is I would say it's extremely difficult. You need to spend nowadays. You need to spend 20 years on a row in order to get the Andorran nationality. Is it also true that in some periods of the 20th century, even though you were born in Andorra, if your parents were not Andorrans, you were not able to get the nationality? So is it true that getting the Andorran nationality is not easy? Also, in order to get the Andorran nationality, you need to get rid of any other nationalities. So we do not allow double nationalities. So this can be a challenge for people who want to keep their roots, of course. But this has nothing to do with the fact that one thing is getting the nationality and the other one is being a resident, a permanent resident, for example. So it's true that the immigration process in Andorra is also not easy. For example, we are based in a system of quotas. So once the quota, for example, is closed, you cannot access. But is it also true that from the 1950s, more or less 1960s, the Andorran economy needed so much workforce that the quotas allowed for a quite high immigration rates? For example, just to share with you, the compounded increase in population since 1947, which is the first year we have public records, until 2007, what was 4.4% yearly. So this is quite high, and this was made mainly by immigration. So I wouldn't say that regarding our challenges in the pension system, immigration is on the table, but the immigration was already in the table for the to fuel the economic growth of Andorra. Regarding this, is it also true that today, for example, I showed you data from the 2020 24 year end data, but today we are bordering the 90,000 people. So we are starting to restrict the entrance of people, both in the working side and both in what we call the passive residency. So the passive residency is that usually, historically, you could not immigrate to Andorra without a working permit.
Okay.
If you want to live in Andorra, you have now two options. One is work in Andorra, and the other one is a residency by investment. Okay, and this allows you not to work in Andorra. You do not become a fiscal a tax resident. It depends on the conditions, but you can legally live in Andorra. So we are starting to restrict both kinds of residency, because we see that the real estate system, for example, the real estate sector, and also the infrastructure is it's becoming tight in Andorra now, and this is it contradictory with the fact that the economy needs those people in order to keep growing. So we live in this contradictory scenario, which has an impact with the social security pension scheme, and also to the future social or the future of the pensions. Yeah.
No, I completely agree, because looking at the pyramids you show, that you mentioned that they are no longer pyramids. I mean, the first impression that one has is that immigration is needed, no? But at the same time, you want to cap it. It was similar to Italy yesterday, or Hungary, two countries that, as we know from the news, are reluctant to have immigration, no? And they have, but I think this is good that this debate should be on the table, no? Saying that some immigration is needed to keep the system. But then let me ask you, just for clarity. So uh, individuals that are become permanent residents but are not nationals, I guess that at some point they will retire, no?
Yeah, sure.
What happens when they retire? They are entitled to the pension
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
normal?
I mean, nationality in that case has nothing to do with the pension system. Nationality is only it only has to do with voting rights and some basic national things. But as long as you, I mean, just like if a Spanish national goes to work in France, it's not a French national, but it contributes to the system. So
Okay.
in Andorra is actually the same. I can make my family example. My grandparents, for example, were not nationals, and they spent mostly their whole life here, and at the moment of retire, they got a pension. Yeah. So what is important is, for example, what happens with those. Let's put out the nationality out of the equation. What happens with those people, with those residents that move to a country without an agreement with us? Because then they cannot add the years contributed to this other country.
Okay. Okay, and then another question. You mentioned that for now the retirement age is fixed to 65. We saw in previous presentations that some countries are trying to index the retirement age to the remaining life expectancy at a given age. I'm wondering if there are any debates on Andorra to change that, to update that to remaining life expectancy, let's say at a given age, or it's for now it's not, has not been discussed.
Well, yes, it has been discussed. Actually, the parliament, in its different political opinions and forces, debate along this subject. Is it true that the main discussions have been around how many years are we going to push the retirement age, saying, okay, we are going to push it 2 years, in 10 years, for example, progressively. But is it also true that some political options have stated or explored to put on the table to link the pension and the retirement age to the life expectancy? Although I believe that the main position now is to do something more like pushing 2 or 3 years, but not linking it to the life expectancy.
Okay, thanks so much. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. I'm not so well. Thank you, Dr. Galabert, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. I think. Thank you. So I think we can close the seminar. It's been 2 days. It's been great. I want to thank all the presenters, also the audience for attending and joining us these 2 days. Our main sponsor, Aula Previsión Social Vida Caixa, and also all the members of the Observatory, Teresa, Marcel, Laura, Inoa for their support, and also to Manuel for the technical support to make it possible that we make this seminar online. Just a reminder that all the videos from the presentations will be uploaded to the European Seminar, to the Observatory's webpage in a few days. They will also be available through the YouTube channel of the Observatory. And we also have like a more mid or long-term goal that to write a report, a small booklet in which we will summarize the main ideas that have been presented here during these 2 days. So thank you very much to all of you and hope to see you again soon.